We're gonna do a little preaching while we wait for the game to come on.
Oh, okay. All right, gotcha. What religion are we going with?
The religion of gaming, apparently. Yeah. So preach gaming.
Okay.
Yeah, it's preach gaming.
All right.
Preach gaming.
All right. I see. Gotcha. Yeah, boy, yeah. You remember when we were like, we're going to start this shit at 9 a.m. and maybe we can even beat War Within's story in a single day?
Oh, yeah, we heard it was like 6 hours long. We were thinking we could just dive right in, but sadly, Wednesday maintenance. Let's take a look at Preach.
Is here. The World Soul Saga, led by Mr. Metzen, has arrived. But one thing is clear. If you're talking to your friends, if you're on websites, if you're checking forums, you're checking live streams, Blizzard has a mountain of cynicism to climb over. The War Within, no big gameplay features, a little bit of delves here, and also when we see those characters come on, us players can't help but think of one thing.
I already want to pause.
Okay.
I don't want new gameplay features. They're empty calories in World of Warcraft to me because none of them ever stick. They never keep them around. It's like one random piece of crap per expansion, with the exception of Dragon Flying that is obviously stuck. But they learned the wrong lessons from Legion. They gave us a lame necklace instead of a cool weapon in the next expansion. And then there's all these things. There was like scenarios and mists. Nope, that was boring. We got rid of that. There was island expeditions. Nope. Warfront. Nope. F that. Like nothing ever stick. I don't want it. Make just a good game. Just make me want to play your game. I don't want new. I don't need gameplay mechanics.
I don't think he's talking to you,
adding gameplay mechanics.
I think he's talking to you. I mean, that is a big selling point for someone who's burned out. Like, that's the gamble of coming back is, oh, new stuff. So saying, hey, if someone's saying right now, hey, I don't like Dragonflight, and I played a lot of it, they would hear this and go, well, I'm not coming back. I didn't like Dragonflight. Whereas you and I are in a situation. So he's talking to two different audiences here. And I think that was a call out to that audience. Interestingly enough, what you just said about it not having new systems made me watch videos for the first time before I played. I want the game to teach me, and the new reset, throw out the old talent systems, completely rework everything, made me enter every single World of Warcraft expansion fresh and want to explore it. This time I showed up more like I did to Final Fantasy and said, this is an established game. How should I play? What should I play? And
that is the push and pull, and I think the difficulty of developing any MMO over a long amount of time is that, like, how much do you want new and how much do you want to feel like it's an institution?
Yeah. And I kind of like that. Like, I found really happy people. I said a bunch of their names on a previous stream. I don't remember any of them. In fact, I could get up a side screen right now and tell you some of the lovely, happy people I watch. But there's a lot of happy content creators for World of Warcraft doing guides. And I loved them.
My WoW friends that have been playing through Dragonflight are all pretty much universally in a good place. This is like the most positive my WoW playing friends have been in years. Granted, I don't have nearly as many WoW playing friends, but I mean, we're not at what was their peak in Wrath, 12 million, something like that. We haven't been there in a long time, so I don't expect to have that many friends.
Anyway,
all right,
you ready for this?
Roll it again.
This guy,
champion. What are they doing to fix this? Because believe me, they're really trying. What prompted this? Well, I've jumped back into WoW to prepare for the War Within. I played through the alpha. It was very exciting, but different. And now that difference is really clear as to what the hell is going on. Blizzard have been ultra restrained, really restrained with this expansion, and I'm sure you guys have noticed, no mega gameplay feature, and certainly not an abundance of them, right? For years and years, we've been used to things like Warfronts and Islands are coming, and we've revamped all the daily quests, and now there's this big, like, tower that's coming in, and now we've got all this big crest system, and we've revamped this, and we've done this and this. Whole little systems and things coming on to you, and this time it's like, everything's the same as Dragonflight, but we've got delves as well for people who don't like raiding, and also we've made a solo experience for the final boss, so you don't need to go into a raid if you just want to play through the story.
I love that idea.
I want some consistency in my MMOs. It's part of what I really like about Final Fantasy XIV, and I think it's a big reason why I last year realized that I'm more of a classic fan than I am a retail fan these days.
Everything else kind of stays the same. We've got hero talents, but they're kind of mostly passive, so don't worry about it too much. And you're like, huh. For a game that is built from the ground up for gameplay as its primary focus, it is its foundation of the game, that's kind of lacking. So where the hell is the attention going this time? What's happening with this big 6-year plan of the World Soul Saga? And the point is very clear. The story. Okay, this is tough. This is really tough because The cynicism and the wall surrounding World of Warcraft is humongous. It is massive. It is almost insurmountable, and you'll see it in the comments down below. And I want to be clear to the people who are upset at WoW. Who are you talking to?
Oh, yes, okay.
Now you want to sort
right
by top and go all the way to the bottom. Probably don't do that because I bet
keep scrolling.
I bet it's truly putrid. So
I totally get it. It's not surprising. We've been burned badly, my friends. We've burned badly, but we're not going to dwell on that. I get it. I understand it. But they're really trying. And I've had to sort of reflect on this a little bit because I actually did something as a streamer which was really kind of bad, considering what they're trying to do, but not without cause. So that's why I decided to do this. So I jumped back in. They've got this pre-event going, which allows you to level a character from 60 to 70 in like 30 minutes without abusing potions. Thumbs up. I was actually really surprised. And I've used this time to cap all my characters. Dragonflight was the very first time I did not have one of every class capped and ready to go, because obviously I wasn't making guides and things anymore.
God, that's a lot of
but
classes.
I was like, oh wow,
I
can actually get up to date, which means I won't have these characters that start to linger and fester going into the war within and have to go through Dragonflight first. So I've been capping every character and refreshing myself on the gameplay and having a blast and just generally really enjoying myself and dealing with massive UI issues. No, I'm not doing a full UI update. Sorry, I will update as I go, but I'm not promising that before you ask.
What?
So,
wait, what?
Wasn't gonna. That sounds exhausting.
I'm just curious. Is this like a pillar of his content? Like World of Warcraft, he'd sit down and do like a big UI update, and everyone would be like, "Oh, you need these." That sounds kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, you know how you get backseated constantly about like your opinion of a 14 story or where we stop in the 14 story or your rotation while playing 14?
Yeah. What about it?
Imagine if you could add add-ons, like there was just constant freedom of mods that you could add to the game. How many people would have an opinion about how you should be, setting up your UI?
That's how you decorate
what mods
your house.
you should be running. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. People are going to tell you what you should be doing.
Yeah, but they didn't do Mother in BFA with no Deadly Boss mod, and I still saw people die to that. So you know what? I'm okay. I got protection against that.
I mean, I don't know that because I'm not you, but
yeah,
I'm just saying, like, you're gonna get backseated.
Just look around.
Prepare for it today,
Let's get to
Kyle.
the meat of the matter, the story. Let's talk about a few things. So, what got me going was the pre-patch storyline involving Magni Bronzebeard. And every time Magni Bronzebeard appears on the screen, I can't help but think of Champion and the wounds. And I basically played out this story as I did read everything and I was understanding what was going on, like a stand-up comedy show. I was doing my streamer thing. And it was fine until a couple of hours later when I was sort of going to the gym and I was thinking to myself, this was FF14, I would not have played this way. In fact, what actually happened was kind of serious and kind of heavy. And I started to reflect on it. I was like, I didn't even give it a fair shot. Now, why? And that's the crux of what we're talking about today. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this as well.
But pause for a second. I'm curious if you've ever had a moment like this. Where you're cracking wise, taking something and like, let's use 14 as the example, taking it maybe not so seriously. And then afterwards you were like, you thought better of it.
I mean, all the time.
The big one for me was Lise. Like I was reading her like a Valley Girl forever. And then we got into Stormblood and I was like, oh shit, main character.
I mean, I don't really have... So comedy is nothing but making mistakes. And luckily you're young and people forgive you. So as someone who enjoys making others laugh, I constantly completely overstepped my bounds growing up. And I was in an improv troupe in college, and I certainly did some things that are like, woo, no, but you learn and you grow in your college student. No one really cares too much. I mean, as for like a 14 performance, dude, I had so much fun yesterday when I whipped out the Southern Belle, seeing that chat go, oh no, oh wait, no, this accent's actually kind of good. This is okay. We can let this happen. I had such a good time with that.
It was I think it's the most you've ever nailed a voice like immediately.
It was fun.
Like you locked in, man.
It was fun.
You locked in. But yeah, I like
this is a good journey is going on.
This is a big reason I enjoy Preach, because he will self analyze, and there's I find not naming names, there's a lot of streamers that are just like, my initial reaction is the correct one, and if you try to say otherwise, I'm just going to be hostile and dig deeper. And I've never gotten that sense from Preach, and that's a big reason I like him.
Yeah.
Problem in that they have devolved most of their characters into absolute memes. Complete memes because of the, I'll say it, atrocious storytelling we've had over the last few years. In particular, we are looking at BFA and Shadowlands here. Shadowlands in particular. We've got some standout examples of just how horrendous the writing has been. You might remember the silly tweet we did during Shadowlands.
What am I looking at?
Literally opened the
A silly tweet, and we might get it in context.
doors in Maldraxxus. You give them their home back. You rearmor the Primus's corpse and all these kinds of things. And then if you don't choose them, like, well, you're not allowed in anymore. It's so stupid. It's so... we literally provided this for you, and you're like, well, you're not coming in because you didn't choose us. Instead of any other system, such as we're allowed everywhere except this segment, which is for the Maldraxxus people only, right? This kind of thing. But no, you're just not allowed in.
Bad.
The same with the Kyrians, the same with Revendreth, and all this awful butting of heads that happened of gameplay and systems versus storytelling that did not...
Is that supposed to be the vampire guy? Is that what
I'm
going to
assume that's supposed to be Revendreth folk,
Okay, good.
mesh in any way, shape, or form, and led to these just massive illogical holes in what the hell was happening in the story for us as the player to force this down a certain road, and you just sat there going, this is stupid. It's just really stupid, and it makes no sense, and I hate it, and I don't like it, and of course, many people drifted away, and that was for a good reason. WoW coasted for a long time on its gameplay. It actually didn't matter too much to a lot of players if the story was kind of weak at points, because playing the game itself was fun enough. But of course, we get to Shadowlands, and the gameplay itself devolves, right, into farming bloody soulbinds, and now I've got to spend half an hour in Torghast every week. And if I've got an alt, I need to spend multiplicative amounts of times in there and blow all my gold that I just can't really afford to be spending 250,000 gold for a slight item level increase on my legendary item and things like that. So the gameplay
Just
then
let him go. Yeah, you know, we all have these.
suffered. And because WoW had coasted for so long on its good gameplay, and then the gameplay took a hit and the story was bad, implosion, explosion, all kinds of things going on. Now, Dragonflight saw a lot of those characters like Anduin just disappear for a while. So the last time we saw him was then. And now those characters are coming back because the story is the focus. Let's talk about the first thing. Is this a good idea to focus on the story? Yes, absolutely. In talking to the devs and speaking to lots of people, once the people did realize the grass was greener elsewhere, and yes, this is FF14, like people found out you can absolutely tell one of the most compelling stories going in RPGs in an MMO. It's totally possible. If your writing is good enough and you spend time with these characters and you care about these characters, you could reduce millions of players to tears on a semi-regular basis and have them overjoyed and extraordinarily excited as well. All the emotional beats can be hit in an MMO. FF14, in my opinion, after 20... a lot more experience than that, actually, has two of the best RPG stories ever told happening within that game. And so they realize, like, this is a big deal. If we can get our players to actually care about our characters, to be invested in their presence, then we have something special here, because our gameplay still exists. And that's why going into Dragonflight from the War Within, the gameplay is tight. Dragonflight did a solid job of getting the gameplay back.
Just like, man, preach. Freaking, this is so in the wheelhouse of what I've seen as like the challenge and the struggle of Warcraft over the past many years. And I mean, there's a lot of things. Like he rightfully points out all the game systems that they tried expansion over expansion that didn't hit, but also the story. I'm curious about your thought, dude, because like WoW was a sensation when it hit, and it was a lot of players' first experience with the Warcraft universe, or even Blizzard as a whole. But there was also, I think, a good chunk of folks that came over to the MMO because they played the RTSs, and definitely post Warcraft 3, I think there was a fan base that was there for the story. Do you feel that way?
Oh, what a nuanced topic, because original World of Warcraft was just a vibe. It was D&D. It was a world to play in with your friends. It really had very little to do with a story.
Did you play 3 before WoW?
Yeah, absolutely. Tons.
Did you care? Were you into the narrative?
I cared when I found Sylvanas hanging out with her #1 Dreadlord. Like, that was a big moment for me, going down in the Undercity and finding those two. And finding Thrall was okay, but like, to me, the Dreadlords were just so freaking badass that finding Varimathras, I believe it was, hanging out by Sylvanas, it was like, yes! Oh my God, they're real. Look at that. I'm in Disney World. And I had that moment. I would say the bad story doesn't matter as long as it's not offensive. And to me, ultimately, and I don't bring it up much because I think louder voices, and I'll include you in that, about the Sylvanas kind of thing. Zul'jin was the ball drop for me.
I'm with you there. Wait, Zul'jin or Vol'jin?
Vol'jin. Like, just Vol'jin. Completely not addressed, built up. I could even say, and I do a lot of dismissing on my own expectations. Expectations feeds of joy. So I had an expectation I was going to get to be Evil Horde. That's on me. You know, I loved Sylvanas stringing up, I think it was Jaina's brother, half brother maybe, making him undead, making him do a dance on the boat. Like, all that stuff. I loved Evil Horde. I know a lot of people don't. So I was not checked out during any of that, but I saw ball drops like nothing done with Sylvanas, and went, that sucks for my wife. She loves Sylvanas in Heroes of the Storm. and for me, it was Vol'jin.
Sylvanas for me was like the last character left that I really cared about. I really liked Varian, and he had died off, and like the whole like main cast of characters in Warcraft 3, I was a big fan of. And I guess, I don't know, I really like Jaina as well, and I think they've done a good job with Jaina. But like post Wrath of the Lich King, Wrath was the last time I was invested in like deeply invested in WoW story, until Legion, where I was just kind of surprised that I liked it. I was really into it. I enjoyed the other expansions in between, except for Warlords. But I was coming to it more for the gameplay, just for the game, than I was for the narrative. So yeah, I think I just see it as like, and a lot of this is tied up with my personal like likes and dislikes within the Warcraft universe, but we're pretty much left with characters that aren't my favorite, as I've said. Like, I feel like we just have like a full cast of Boy Scouts at this point. Like Thrall is very lawful. Anduin historically has been very lawful. Jaina has been very lawful. Like, it's just Cyclopses as far as the eye can see, as far as I can see. And I think that's always been a part of the struggle. So if they're going to start developing these characters and making them more nuanced and making them more interesting, and hopefully slotting a few of them into a different slot on the alignment chart, then I am curious. But yeah, this is all the things that Preach is making me think about right now.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Clips channel. Did you know this isn't our main channel? Yeah, you should subscribe over and find our main videos and our streams as well. We also have a podcast that you can find wherever podcasts can be found, so explore the internet. See you there.
Relatively simplistic systems of how you control your character, tightening all that up, and they're going to continue that going forward without major deviation, because that works. Now they need people to care about the characters, and this is the problem, right? This is the problem, because for the last few years they have really mullered and buried a lot of those characters. And when I see Jaina pop on the screen now, I'm like, oh, she's going to say something, and then she's going to teleport away and disappear for ages. Sure enough, during the War Within pre-patch, that's exactly what she does. It's the pre-patch. And I was like, there it is. And these characters are memes. And I'm looking at Magni, and I'm thinking about this story. And this story is somebody who's dedicated their entire life to being communicating through Azeroth. And she's abandoned him. She's betrayed him. He can't communicate anymore. Now, what really got me going is this actually parallels a major story beat in one of FF14's expansions that did result in the payoff, which came in Endwalker, of this build-up, paid off in a way that people talk about it as like one of the most devastatingly crushing moments they've had in media, not just books or movies or video games, in media. It's haunting. It's haunting, and it makes you feel awful, but in like a good way. Like, it's hard to describe without spoiling it, but when you witness and the revelation of what's been going on happens to you, you're like, oh my god, Oh, and you're crushed. Now, they're trying to do a DC universe here. That's for the comic book movie knowers and speedrun through this to get you to care about it. But how do they overcome this? This is the big problem. This is what Metzen and Co. is working on in the background. It's ironic that we're talking about this now because a lot of people have been questioning where is Metzen. And I've tried to have talks with Metzen and stuff earlier on, and it does appear for the most part that Metzen is kind of on a media blackout besides very specific things that he can do for Blizzard and not being involved in interviews and focusing entirely on the game. And that's great. How do they fix this?
I mean, I'd also say the Olympians had social media managers. Like, that's just healthy for the guy. That's why he left, was because he was overwhelmed by social media and participating in that sphere. And people loved him for it. I mean, Dustin Browder was, on social media, and I loved him for it in the Heroes of the Storm days. But boy, did he face some serious stuff. Funnily enough, someone posted today an interview with Yoshi P in our Discord. And I'm reading through it. I'm like, oh, yes. And, New York City car analogy. Well, that's kind of weird. He said that 2 years ago. That's kind of odd to bring. And I was reading completely in a Dawn Trail mindset, but it was actually the Endwalker interview where he was talking about devs being abused. And it happens. If I was in his position, I would want to be so in my own DM head. I'd want to be so far outside of that sphere. And I talked to one person, my good friend Scott Johnson. I would only be interviewed by a good friend at this point.
Yeah. I mean, he probably, this is 100% conjecture, but I would bet money that was part of the terms of him returning. It was, I bet he sat down and had chat. He's like, I want to come back. I miss this work. I want to do this work again. I do not want to constantly be the face of this game.
Yeah.
Because it gets exhausting, especially if you just want to create. Like, I have those weeks. There's weeks I'm like, oh, I'd love to just fiddle in Premiere all week and not like you go through peaks and valleys of wanting to be an entertainer.
And ideally, there's someone who's more invested on Anduin than he is now, and he can kind of push them into an interview and be like, hey, you need to get out there and talk because you're the one doing the real work here. I'm creative directing. I'm not writing.
Yeah.
I'm not as hands-on as I once was.
Yeah.
How do they get over this wall of cynicism? How do they repair the damage done to their characters? The damage done to Sylvanas, the damage done to Anduin, because I know right now that a lot of you, and I gauged my, a few thousand people in Twitch, what do you think of Anduin right now? And the response was overwhelming. He's a pussy. He's a cook. He's a loser. He's a shambles and all this. And that's really sad for me. Because the story they're trying to tell, or have been trying to tell, particularly in the Shadowlands, because we didn't really see him since then, is really dark, and it's really sad, and a lot of work has been put into it, but it just did not come across in that storytelling at all. And the storytelling continues in a really good way in The War Within. And it's hard for... They're hoping people will take a step back and reconnect with these characters, because if they can have the tight gameplay and a great story, they have the winning combination. They have it. But there's a lot of other things to fix. The pacing of the story... like I said, I've played through The War Within. It's missing all the cutscenes, and The War Within pre-patch gives me hope for this. The pacing of the story. If you've been back to Dragonflight in the last, say, 6 months... and played through the campaign, you will know the pacing of the story is not good. Particular highlights here of Viranoth, the Ice Dragon Lady, who, if you just play through the campaign back-to-back without the weird breaks, and we'll come back to that, is baddie, best mate, member of the Avengers, all in about 25 minutes. There's just no room that breathes. There's no subtlety to it. There's no nuance going on with this. It's not built up. There's no speculation. There's no theorizing. There's no lots of straws falling on the camel's back that makes her switch, and then us to trust her and to earn that trust and do all those things. It's all like hammered into you as fast as humanly possible to keep the story going. Because, of course, there is a general mindset that World of Warcraft players don't care about the story. And you've got a circular situation there. If your story is not good and compelling, then why would we care about the story? So I don't care about the story, so I'm not interested when you end up like me and your story is getting compelling. And I don't care because I'm coming into the story expecting it to be bad. And therefore, it just goes round and round in a circle. And they're trying to pull that back by saying, look, we're going to do this story over 6 years. We're dropping subtle hints, like Terran pointed out in their Wowcast. It's like, we've had Xal'atath, like, shadows of her appearing for quite some time now. We're really starting to foreshadow. We're starting to do these things. But these things don't really happen in the WoW story, and certainly not for the last few years, that make any sense. Suddenly, just like, rah, Ashara's here now, with the patch. And now there's a city under the ocean that's been there for 10,000 years, but it looks like it's been developed for like 6 weeks, right?
Damn.
It's not adding up. There's a logical fallacy going on here, and it doesn't make any sense. And now they're saying, like, look, we're going to make logical sense. One thing I will say is The War Within, without spoilers, does make logical sense. There's a lot going on there that works. So, pacing. One thing I really liked about this War Within pre-patch.
The dragon in the back.
That's what's making me laugh?
Dude, look at his face. He is so checked out. He is just waiting for this to end.
Well, that's very realistic. You ever had
Yeah.
to stand, you ever just try to do your job and the boss is trying to show off?
Just, new management's coming in. They're
exhausting.
talking about how we're a family, and he's just like, let it end.
We're a family. Oh, God. Yeah, you give me PTSD there. This is just, I'm trying to, now I'm wondering, have I ever played a game where I didn't have some sort of issue with the pacing of its narrative? Because games don't have perfect control of the speed with which you digest them.
I mean, games are long. Games don't have all the assets in the world. Reuse boss models, all that sort of thing can cause a pacing issue. It's not just story. Revisiting a location twice can go, oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah, because it takes, in general, longer to get through like an act, even if it has a traditional 3-act structure like a film or a book. But like the same is true. Like if you're reading a book, like it's probably taking, even if it's a fast reader, it's going to take you longer than a movie or a television show, or at least an episode of a television show. And
that's a good chat brings up games that are very short nowadays too, for that exact reason. And I was going to think of like Last of Us. There's parts that maybe are slower, but certainly horror games are rarely super long.
yeah, but even compared to traditional media, like I know movies are getting bloated these days, but even a bloated movie is what, 3 hours? Last of Us is easily more than twice as long as that.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, it's what I'm saying. Maybe I should give Dawn Trail a break.
System is the pacing of the little cutscenes was much better, because they weren't out to just be exposition overload, which a lot of the cutscenes in WoW have been for a long time, including Dragonflight, where you just randomly get a cutscene at the end of a quest line or something, and everybody just does loads of things all at once to move the story forward. We go from like, we're going on the offensive, to then suddenly all these big stars appear, and now we're the Avengers, and now we're doing this. That happens in like one cutscene. This time it's Illyria and Khadgar, just bringing Illyria in. Little bit of exposition, little bit of story, a little bit of temptation, and then off you go to do relevant quest lines. I was like, this is better. This is better. This is much better. Then we get the Magni cutscene. We understand that he's doing it for us. He hates what's happened. He's doubting Azeroth herself, and he's injured because obviously he's going to reveal what we need to go to the Isle of Dawn, which is the War Within launch. But that's it. And after that, there's some post-cutscene stuff for the people who are interested, with the family, introducing these characters that are going to get to know in War Within, giving you a little bit more backstory, a little bit more, but it's not a lot. It's a little bit. We just get a little bit of development for Magni, and then it stops. Much better. And only a couple of quests in between. Okay. Skippable if you don't want to watch them. But for everybody else, this is much better. This pacing has to be better. I haven't listened to the Metzen interview yet, to be honest with you, because it's the morning of. But I have seen some feedback on Twitter about our worst fears being realized, is that they're still going to go with the storyline being broken into chunks. I think this is a massive mistake. I don't know who's watching at Blizzard, but I think this is a huge
I'm worried
mistake.
about.
I really do. The other games...
What are you agreeing with?
The story being broken into massive chunks. Like this is in line with exactly what I talked about when you and I were watching this interview between Scott and Chris, where I was just like, listen, you can have story beats that or story lines or story arcs that move across all 3 expansions, but like don't just make it be one massive cliffhanger at the end of War Within and one massive cliffhanger at the end of Midnight, and no actual closure until what, 6 years conservatively from now when we get The Last Titan. I know they said they're going to go faster. I don't know how much I believe that. So I'm going with a 2-year average per expansion.
So the assumption made on a 3-act structure, a trilogy, is that you want, even ignoring something like a Final Fantasy, you just want that movie to end and be like, yeah, that was nice. That was a movie.
For the most part, yeah. And like, all cliffhangers are not necessarily bad. Like Empire Strikes Back is like a historically great example of like, oh shit, the good guys feel like they lost, and was Han screwed? What happens next? But there, you still went on a pretty big, like Luke has a full arc of, you know, doubting himself, then becoming too confident in himself, realizing his lineage and failing. Like, that's an arc in Empire Strikes Back, even though there is a cliffhanger. But yeah, this is more about how 14 has broken my brain, because Heaven's Word tells a full story. There's still plenty to move on over into Stormblood, but it tells a full story. There's a full arc with everything going on in Ishgard and the war with the dragons and Thordan and all of that. And then Stormblood, same thing, has its whole full arc with the liberation of Alamigo and where Xenos ends up, and yet there's still plenty that parlays and survives and moves on and takes you into Shadowbringers, and then Shadowbringers has its full arc, and so on and so forth. While there are threads that continue on into everything throughout Final Fantasy XIV, each expansion, the first time you hit credits, you're like, ooh, that feels nice. I just experienced a full story. And the second time you hit credits in an expansion, because you have 2 sets of credits in an expansion, I feel like every time, even Realm Reborn, where I was like mildly invested, it was still like, oh, this feels like a nice stopping point. I can breathe now. I feel like I just went on a journey, and I'm enjoying this victory lap sensation.
Well, how would you feel if it is on the 18th or whatever date that is when the solo raid experience comes out? Because clearly there's a decision there to say, yes, we want a final bad guy to be in a raid, but we're aware that story players want to have pressed that button that delivers the final blow.
I'd feel a lot better, because I mean, I don't want them to one-to-one copy Final Fantasy XIV. And for as long as World of Warcraft has existed, they have tied major story beats into their raids. And so that wouldn't, I think that would be a massive improvement if it felt like the end of an arc after the first raid, and that everything that follows is more kind of like Fallout epilogue / prologue for the next expansion style stuff. Because I really like that that's what 14 does.
And if we were to have game release on the 26th, and that happens on the 20th, you could do it within one subscription cycle. Ideally.
Yeah.
This is the best scenario that I can think of. I mean, I see this with Disney Plus, right? It's all around us right now. Oh, 5 episodes. Wink. Nice job there. Gonna keep me for an extra month.
Well, I mean, that they've been premium channels like HBO and Showtime have been pulling that shit since the 90s.
Absolutely, but I'm saying my desensitization of it is much, much higher than it was, let's say 6 years ago.
Something like the other way, because I have more. I've been here the whole time.
I know. Did you hear me saying let's not make a big deal about it because you wouldn't want to hear this?
Discord never stopped. I was in the call. You were here loud and clear with motion the whole time. I didn't even realize anything had happened.
You're catching up right now in Discord too. So it recorded everything you did. It just fed it to me. Anyway.
Oh, wonderful.
What were you saying?
I was saying I'm the complete opposite. I'm less desensitized to the thing you're complaining about right now, because I have more disposable income than I did 6 years ago. So I don't really look at my subscriptions as closely as I used to. You were talking about extending anything into an additional month to get your sub for an additional month.
Oh, yeah, sure.
A premium television show or subscription package. Or
I was talking about I'm aware of the tactic more because I'm participating. Previously, I didn't participate in cable TV or anything like that. So I wasn't aware of the tactic. So when World of Warcraft...
I didn't know isekais were doing that.
Well, Crunchyroll have got so much to watch, it's just not a big deal. Plus, as you well know, sir, back in 2010, I typed watch anime, enter the anime episode, and hit go, and someone would cover it for me. So, paying for things is a whole new ballgame in my department.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
yes. But My point more being that back when WoW pulled this kind of thing in, let's say, BFA, I wasn't as sensitive to it because I wasn't really aware of the tactic.
That you're trying to compete against. FF14, Guild Wars 2 even, which does its story like this as well, releases its story in a massive, massive chunk at the start. It's actually a very enjoyable experience at the start of the expansions to play through this epic story, which ultimately in WoW would, you know, result in the raid. But they're still probably going to break it up into these bite-sized pieces, which come every few weeks, couple of weeks, something like that. I just, this pacing issue needs to be resolved because, frankly, I'm not the only one who forgets the details of what happened previously by the time the next bit rolls around, and therefore my interest has waned a little bit. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember we kind of did something like that, right? You remember the main points, but like the little details and the subtleties that immerse you into a story, they get lost, and what you end up with is this like every few weeks 1 hour segment of story that you play through. And then you go through it so quickly, it doesn't really soak in. And then you're like moving on and the references are gone. And by the time you get to the next part, whenever that releases in whichever patch or anything like that, you're like, oh, okay.
It's an interesting thought. Cause this is something I've been thinking about with 14 and Viden in chat is bringing it up as well. Is that like, cause you and I haven't experienced any patch content in 14 current, like meaning we didn't need to wait 4 months between point 1 and point 2 and then point 2 and point 3. And so past the point of initial finale of any 14 expansion, you're also kind of contending with this issue of I need to retain this knowledge in my brain so that I can enjoy the next patch when it drops. Probably won't be as big of a problem for you and me because I look forward to making even more cooking videos in that wait time.
And I mean, if we're going to keep doing any sort of MSQ content, there's certainly the what you need to know for the upcoming patch, what we think is important kind of video atmosphere that would be fun to play into.
Yeah. But if I wasn't a content creator, it would absolutely completely fall out of my brain. So yeah, that's an interesting thought.
I hate this in books. While I'm waiting for the next book, hey, check out a short story I wrote online. What? And I'd say it drives me even more insane in anime when I'm waiting for a whole season. And like, no, don't worry. We made a story about 15 years ago, and we put it up as a movie, and it's 45 minutes long. I'm like, just put out the season. So I don't think I really like it in any medium. I don't think there's a single medium I enjoy having to wait.
I mean, well, yes. I kind of like it with TV shows because then like I make it an event. It's like, oh, new season's coming. Let's do a rewatch of the previous season. Games are a bigger ask, usually, unless TV shows have a truly ridiculous number of episodes. But like it. Your mileage is going to vary on if you actually like the Star Wars television shows or not. But that's, you know, when it's new, I hate how few episodes there are. But when the new season's coming and I'm going to go to do a rewatch, I'm like, this is surmountable. I can totally knock out a season of The Mandalorian before the next one drops. So yeah, it depends. It depends on the piece. Like I never reread books. So like, you know, waiting for a book is very painful for me because that stuff's going to fall out of my head and I got to go to a wiki and all that kind of stuff.
Something I did for my online campaign, which you can still go find, Delvers on There Will Be Dungeons. A very enjoyable online campaign. You may have heard of it. Probably not. But it was on the Frog Pants Network. I would do at the start of it a criminal trial that my players were in. So we knew at the end of the season there was going to be some sort of big event that they were going to be accused of. And at the start of every episode, you know, it would start with here, you know, something like you know, oh shoot, that's not it. No, we want something like we want something real crunchy. Here we go.
It was like, where were you on the night of the 25th? What were you doing?
It was Christmas. I had tied a few on,
and kind of a true live sort of like interview situation where the players would need to respond with what happened last time and answer their own questions before we got to the show. And then the season ended with them being in that trial and committing those crimes. And the crimes, of course, evolved. But I knew just D&D players are going to commit crimes. It's going to happen. Long story short, that's up to the game. That shouldn't be on me. And if Final Fantasy's not doing that correctly, that's on them too. I think it's a little better because they're inserting a dungeon right now, which is expanding that gameplay experience, and it gives you a little gameplay moment to be like, process, Content creators can help out with that, and I think content creators have been doing heavy lifting for WoW lore for a long time. What can they do in-game? And I saw that with the recent Sargeras stabbing. When you start up the game and you pick a character, he stabs the planet. It goes through the thing. It says all the important bits. It completely ignores the jailer. It goes through Dragonflight in about 3 seconds, but it's summarized. If they can do that every single patch, problem solved.
Yeah. I mean, that's what television shows do. And if I'm binging it, I skip, and that's why there's a skip button. And if I am watching it week to week, or I don't remember the previous I almost always watch like the previous season review that they do for a lot of shows when the new season drops. It's just helpful, especially if I didn't have time to rewatch the previous season. So yeah, previously on exists for a reason. In the Game of Thrones days, I thought it was kind of spoilery because they would bring up characters that you hadn't seen for 3 seasons, and I'm like, well, I guess that's going to be important this episode.
Yeah, no, that's why you skip. That's why you purposely skip when you're binging.
Yeah, but you're right. I'm already seeing things with the few hours I've interfaced with World of Warcraft retail that I think are helping get people invested in the narrative. By the way, they have updated the time to push it out another 30 minutes, Kyle.
Okay, cool. The time's getting shorter. All this
1:30 is now the time it's supposed to be back.
That's perfect, because I feel like we would do Preach a disservice if we didn't watch the next video. This is a hot review.
All right, then keep it going.
He is letting a lot fly.
Week, which is how they've done it a long time. It's like another week passes and you just kind of, it's like a book that you read 1 page of a week, right? You forget some of the stuff that's happened in the last few pages because you're spreading this so thin. And I know the story is not a week-to-week comic reader expect from 14 or Guild Wars, but that gap is a pain point that I think needs to be resolved. And certainly it's probably not going to be done for War Within, but maybe for Midnight they should consider doing like a big story beat that goes all the way through. That isn't just like exploring the zones in the campaign, which is many separate stories that don't push the main narrative forward that much like Hallowfall does in War Within, and then we're into the Nerubians by then, but the rest of it is sort of groundwork and setting. And FF14's expansion Dawn Trail, even if you haven't played it, has recently hit this issue because they spent a lot of time world building without the main narrative going forward very much. And you can see that expansion has had mixed reviews because they weren't just like going hard on the main theme, which is a slight difference they've made in the storytelling here. And I don't want WoW to fall into that trap because first impressions are everything. So how to fix these characters that have been turned into memes into characters we care about? All the evidence is there, everything they're going to do, and their pacing is getting better. So I've decided this. I actually did this with Guild Wars 2 and it worked out phenomenally. I'm going to let the past go. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to give them a chance. By doing that, I'm going to pretty much forget everything that happened pre the War Within. I'm going to pretend I've never met Magni Bronzebeard before. I'm going to pretend I've never met Khadgar before, Jaina, all those things. All the things that have twisted and mutilated a lot of this story over the last few years. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to treat it as fresh. I'm going to treat it as new and see if I have a newfound interest in this world. Beyond its raids, beyond its talents, beyond its combat, beyond the things that I have loved for all these years, for a story I have wanted to enjoy for so long. I'm going to give it a try. I don't know what will come out of it, and in fact, I have already played the War Within story. But now I'm going to come in with fresh eyes, because I skipped over the Dwarven story. Why? I hate the Dwarves in Warcraft. They're so annoying, so I skipped over them. I'm going to come to it with fresh eyes and see what comes out the other end. And I'll report back to you on whether or not it changed anything for me. Are we there yet? Are we on the way to something magnificent? I don't know. But Blizzard's clearly making concerted efforts to make this work. And every single time I go into this with that old mindset, I'm ready for failure. And there's an old phrase that makes a lot of sense to me after doing the recent stuff. If you go out looking for a fight, you're going to find a fight. And if I go into a WoW story looking for it to be crap, I'm going to find things that I don't like. So, let's see what Metzen's got for us.
Man, I
soon.
live for a good sign off. That's a good sign
Yeah,
off.
sign-offs are good.
That's a good period at the end of your statement.
All right, this is working fine. I'll do it myself. What the hell? Okay.
But
What's Stardew Valley got to do with fine? I'll do it myself. Holy shit. I mean, other than not being able to farm your damn things for you, Factorio's better. Anyway.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah.
All right.
I sit around here day after day saying your personal preference are acceptable. Let me have mine.
But you led with a very dismissive take.
Yes. Well, that's the fun of being petty.
Preach is very good at laying out his takes. That was very well put together.
It's an interesting sandwich, right? Because he started it scripted. He was certainly off script there in the middle. That was some scathing review. He was letting emotions fly freely, and it got kind of heated there in the middle. There, he was upset.
It's almost like, you know, you're probably doing this because at your core you actually do. This is your shit.
Yeah,
and
you
this
care
is still
deeply.
your passionate hobby, and you do give a shit. And it's not all just cynicism at the end of the day.
Yeah. But
all right, we got 15 minutes before it goes live, and this is a 10-minute video, and we are yappy mofos. So
okay.
let's hit
Well,
play.